Hey, welcome back to the channel. I'm Steve, your host. We are getting close on our Leo 2A4 from HobbyBoss. And in this video, I'm going to show you how I do my weathering. Hope you guys enjoy the video. And please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You guys have a great day. Thank you. Okay, we are going to do weathering on our Leo 2A4. If you've seen the channel before and you've seen my weathering videos, what I do is I start off with kind of a soupy pin wash, very sloppy, along the edges, panel lines, anywhere there'd be a shadow, corners and things like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just the video will go through the whole process. I'm going to put some German mood music on and chime in as necessary. But right now, what I'm doing is I'm using raw umber, really thinned out with mineral spirits, and I'm just applying it somewhat precisely, but just sloppy, so I can build those shadows in. So I'll let you see how the process works out, and like I said, I'll just chime in as needed. You guys enjoy the video. One of the things about the Leo 2A4s, they're kind of having a new lease on life in the Ukraine. If you've seen them in the Ukraine, they're filled with cage armor. You've got reactive tiles on them, explosive reactive armor tiles on them. You've got anti-drone netting. You've seen them when the Turks, probably about 5 or 6 years ago, the Turks went into northern Syria with their Leo 2A4s and had a really bad time about it. And there was a question of, was the Leo 2A4 really a good tank, or did the Turkish experience really expose flaws in the Leo 2A4? I guess perhaps a little bit of both, the way they were used. This would have been a NATO tank and a combined arms with air, artillery, infantry, and all kinds of support. I believe when the Turks went into Syria, they didn't have infantry support, and it really, the Leo 2A4s really took a beating. And so it really is the not only the tank itself, but the doctrine, the tactics, techniques, and procedures, the TTPs that go along with how you're going to use the tank. One of the things that I always noticed on the Leo 2A4 was the way the gunner's primary sight seems to be right in the turret frontal arc, and for the life of me, I don't understand why it was put there. I mean, it really is right there on the turret face, that it would seem it would weaken the frontal armor on the right side and allow shots just to come right into the turret. I think on the 2A6 and the 2A5, 2A6 and above, they may have corrected that. I've looked at the Tamiya kit, but it has that arrow armor on the front, and I really can't tell if it's just the way it sits, the gun sight sits now, or they've actually moved it to the roof. So either way, that always struck me as odd that you would have the gunner's primary sight right there in the frontal arc of the armor. One of the things Abrams did, he made sure, and I guess it's just natural anyway, but he made the point when Abrams was under development, they wanted the frontal arc to be heavy, and they wanted to make sure that the crews knew for best survivability, you keep your tank pointed towards the front. It seems obvious, but I guess for him, it was something that he needed to reestablish or establish, and letting the crews know that the frontal arc was your best chance of survival. So keep the tank pointed at the bad guys. So, and now we're working in the lower hull, and same thing. And what I've got is I had some problems with trying to get things into production, so I lost a little bit of the lower hull. So now we're back here on the turret, and what I did was I left the turret on just so it would be stationary. I wouldn't have to hold it. In the future, though, I don't think I'll do that, because with this stippling method, it really it transmits a lot of pressure and constant, tapping and beating down to the suspension. So I'm using Naples yellow here. I always like to thank Will Thorson for introducing me to Naples yellow. It's just such a great color. And again, I want a very stiff and a very dry. It's got to be a dry brush. And what you're doing is you're grinding it into the paint. So whereas if you've got mineral spirits on the brush, it doesn't grind, it just kind of pushes it around. So we're going to work this, and again, like I always say, less is more when you do this. Start with small dots and work your way around. One of the things I'll do in the future when doing NATO camouflage, or perhaps even the German World War II camouflages, is the base coat, in this case, which is the NATO green, and in the German case, it would be the Dunkelgelb, would be really lighten it up, because the mineral spirits that you've used to apply the raw umber, it kind of spreads out. It does stay in the shadows, but it ends up darkening. It ends up darkening the green a bit, so it kind of gets washed out. It still looks pretty good. I'm still happy with it, but the next time I do it, I'll just make sure I go for a lighter. And you can see the stippling motion is putting a lot of torque on the turret, which is being transmitted down to the suspension. So you kind of want to avoid that, save you from breaking pieces on and off. With this kit, I didn't have to leave a lot off. Normally when I do this method, there are things I won't put on until afterwards. I just finished the Panzer III, and things like some of the tools, some of the smaller lights and horns, and the no-tech and the headlights. It just wouldn't survive this. They would just get broken off and just shot across the room into oblivion. So I don't put those on till later. Then I go back and very gently weathering them. You can see that the turret is kind of getting that weathered look, kind of getting that dirty look, and the hard edge paint scheme that we painted on is now it really starts to look like you airbrushed it on. So just remember, a little bit at a time, and you just need to work it, and just be careful of the pieces that are on the kit. At some point, I hope they release some NATO tankers in plastic. I know I've said this before. It'd be nice to have just some NATO tankers that you could stick in these Cold War Leos. Even some U.S. tankers would be nice from the Cold War era. Some of the Tamiya M2 Bradley and their accessories kit come with some Cold War kind of guys. But it would be nice to have a modern set that you could paint up. Even the Desert Storm kit from Dragon had released Desert Storm tankers, which I thought was a really nice kit, but seemed to have really disappeared. So, it would be nice to see. Mini Art, God bless them, they've released Hungarian tankers and French tankers and, all kinds of countries' tankers and a lot of modern tankers, but it'd be nice to see some Cold War kits. Now what you can start to see here is we've pushed the dark raw umber back into the panel lines, back into the corners and the crevices, where now it just represents a shadow, and it's almost like a pin wash, but you're kind of moving it into the corners and the crevice. And what we're going to do here, we're going to work the same here on the side of the turret. Now, with the side of the on flat vertical surfaces, people do a lot of streaking with it, and it always looks good. I haven't done a lot of streaking lately, which, both for my modeling and, just for being out and about in town, everybody appreciates. But I just don't see the need for streaking on vehicles. I don't see it as much as you see on plastic. If anybody's got any pictures, if you just want to see if you can post something in the comments or send me a link with a modern vehicle with a lot of streaking on the sides, I'd appreciate it. But for the most part, they just look dusty with earth ground into them like we're doing here. And again, we just have to be careful with some of the parts we've applied. I've got the grenade launchers on the side. I've got this handrail, and on the back there's a number of handles and little boxes hanging off. So just be careful, because if you start stabbing these and stippling these with the brush, you're going to knock them off. So just be careful. But I have to say, I just always love the beefy slab side of the Leo 2A4. It couldn't be more German, to be honest with you. And in Europe, it was pretty much the standard Panzer. I know in a previous video I talked about NATO standardization, but it is important. And this was a pretty good tank for the Europeans to standardize on. And again, what I like to do, I like to have the decals down before I do the weathering, and that way there's continuity with the decal weathering and the weathering of the vehicle. And I've seen a lot of people apply decals on flat surfaces. I've never had any luck with that. So what I do I've got some acrylic gloss. I just brush paint on the areas where I'm going to apply decals. Put the decal down with a bit of tamium set. Decal's dry. I go over it with the acrylic gloss to seal it in, and then I do the weathering. I find with this technique of weathering, it's better on a flat surface, because the grinding really gets into the flat paint, where on a really smooth surface, it's okay, but it's just not as, I don't think it grinds in as well. And again, your mileage may vary. So we're just working along the gun tube. And again, this is a 2-piece gun tube. You just want to be careful that you don't flex the gun too much while you're doing this, because you'll end up perhaps, splitting it along the glue lines. So just be a bit gentle on this. And again, as far as weathering, my theory is you don't want it too uniform. You want high traffic areas to be a little bit more weathered than areas where no one really gets back and forth to. Chipping with this, I'm not going to chip this. I find, because this would have been the German version of Kark paint, the chemical agent resistant coating, and that stuff is really durable. And so I think chipping, I really like the look of it, but I think on a modern vehicle, unless it's kind of got like a whitewash or a temporary sand coating for it, that chipping really isn't a thing. So we're just getting down some dots on the lower offline, and again, I'm not sure what happened to this when I edit. I edited out a lot of the lower hull application of the raw umber. So now we're just kind of in the dots, working our way forward. And again, just the same stippling motion. You've got a number of pieces here that have been applied. You've got the gun crutch, you've got a couple shovels, there's a pick, there's kind of a two-man saw. So you just want to be careful as you're stippling. You don't knock those guys off. I like to do the tools separately because I like to put the wood grain on the tools, and I can weather the metal parts a bit differently with either some gray or some silver to show wear. And I'm happy with it, a way to do wood grain on tools that's pretty simple as opposed to painting wood grain. So you just kind of put down a base coat of a yellowish acrylic and let that dry. Then you do a heavy wash on it and just clean up select areas. You can see there's a lot of things going on here on the back deck. You can see the non-skid surfaces, which I think is an excellent part of the kit. Tamiya, they didn't have those on their Abrams, and that's very visible. So it's nice to see it on the non-skid surfaces. Just want to be careful of the photo etch you applied. A lot of people use super glue with it on photo etch, unless it's a load-bearing piece. What I do is I sand the mating surface of the photo etch to get it scuffed up. I do the same on the plastic mating surface, and I just use Tamiya thin set and just kind of mash it in there, and that works. And that's how I have the screens on the rear deck put on over those cooling fans. And again, the more you stipple, the deeper it goes in, and the more of the color shows through. So again, it really is up to your taste how you want the vehicle to look. And we're just going to work around the cooling fans. We want to make sure we don't knock that photo etch off. Again, once you apply this method, it really is hard to tell if the camouflage that you applied was done with an airbrush or just a small paintbrush. So we're moving a bit forward now. Really, same stuff. I'll let the music play for a bit. If you can name the composer, put it down in the comments. And you can certainly see how, when you look at the front of the vehicle as opposed to the back of the vehicle, the difference is pretty stark. And I always like to look at that. A lot of people like the factory fresh finish. For me personally, I imagine with these vehicles, the factory fresh finish, try to say that a couple times, really only lasts that first time to the range, and after that, it's just it's just dirt that mostly comes off, but that's always there. And again, you want to vary the intensity of the weathering, and you can do that by grinding in more or less. Really, because no weathering isn't uniform. You know, as you look at it, there's variations, tonal variations. So just kind of, again, it's your mileage may vary. It really is what you like. You can see I've left some other pieces off this. There's the, I haven't put the spare track link. There's a 2-piece track link that goes up front. There's a mounting bracket for it. And there's the pads for the snow grousers that I haven't put on yet. Because like I said, it's just easier to do this and you're not worrying about knocking things off. And one of the things I did once I was complete, I don't know if it's in the video. What I took was I took my my stippling brush. I got just a tiny little bit of oil paint on it, the Naples yellow. Made sure it was a very dry brush. Then just kind of dragged it across the bulkheads and the tops of panels just to give it that dry brush look, just to give it a little bit of pop. It's not realistic in the real world, but on a 35 scale kit, I think it really makes a difference when you can see just the raised details popped out a little bit. Nothing too garish, but just enough where you can see it, because there's a lot of nice detail that you want to expose to the person looking at the model. So here we are on the sides, and we want to be careful, because these side skirts are only mounted at the top, so you want to be careful with the amount of pressure you're putting down so you don't snap them off the hull. So we'll just take it a little bit easier, using them more side to side than straight up and down. And we'll just start working our way back. Like I said, side to side at this point, as opposed to just, the pounding of the stippling up and down, because you don't want to break any parts off. This is why I like to have the bottom. I like to have all the running gear on the lower hull and all weathered, all ready to go. So when I pop the upper on it, I don't have to mess around with trying to get around the side skirts, or getting up in there to put the tracks on because of the fenders or the mud flaps. So for me, it's just easier. And again, work less to more, and I think you'll be happy with the results. I did the same on the rear end of the hull, but the way my camera setup is, there really wasn't any good shots of that. But it's the same idea as far as the raw umber and letting that dry. Let the raw umber dry 10-15 minutes, half hour or so, and you'll be fine to come in with the stippling with the Naples yellow. So we're going to put a little bit of white just to get some highlights here, and we're not going to use a lot of it. So we just want to see some highlights in different areas. Gives you a different, I keep saying tonal variation. I'd like to take credit for making that phrase up, but it wasn't me. So it just gives you, you know, a different look. So it's not uniform. So here we are, and I'm pretty happy with the result. Like I said, I'm going to do a much lighter green the next time. I've got a Leo 2A6, so I'll have another crack at the tricolor. But it's been a fun build. It was a Shelf Queen rescue. I think I started this 5 or 6 years ago. Always liked the look of the Leo 2A4, and I think this has been a pretty nice kid. If you have a chance to pick it up, you know, it's worth 20 or so bucks or 20 or so euros. Hans is going to play us out. I've got some stills for you. You guys, thanks for looking.